Hello everyone, Richard Phillips back at you with some more modern action. Today we're going to be playing something really fun. Jace the Mind Sculptor has just gone live on Magic Online. It's really hard to get copies of Jace the Mind Sculptor right now, so I will be playing some Modern Miracles with you guys, but I need to get a few more copies of Jace before I can do that. So I thought today would be a fun day to play something a little bit interesting that can really just work with two Jaces. And I decided that combo control is the way to go. And once I decided that I wanted to play some combo control, I thought it would be really fun to try to play a bunch of cards that have been unbanned in Modern. So the goal was to play pretty much all of the blue, black, white cards that have been unbanned in Modern. So today we're playing Ancestral Vision, we're playing Bitterblossom, we're playing Thopter Foundry combo with Sword of the Meek, and we're also playing Jace the Mind Sculptor. This deck can attack on multiple different axes. First, it has the Gifts Ungiven, Unburial Rites combo. So we'll cast Gifts, just choose two targets, which will be Unburial Rites in either Gristlebrand or Iona. Put that back on the battlefield. We can also discard these fatties and the Unburial Rites using Search for Azcanta or Collective Brutality. So we got a couple of different ways to get them into the graveyard. So that's like combo number one. Combo number two, which we can also use Gifts Ungiven to get, is the Thopter Foundry Sword of the Meek combo. We have two Thopter Foundries, one Sword of the Meek. This will loop infinitely with the amount of lands that we have, if you're unfamiliar. So basically what you do with this Thopter Foundry, it says sacrifice a non-token artifact, create a 1/1 Thopter, and gain a life. So you will activate this ability, sacrificing the Sword of the Meek. You will get a 1/1. Then when the 1/1 enters the battlefield, Sword of the Meek says whenever a 1/1 creature enters the battlefield, you may return Sword of the Meek from the graveyard to the battlefield attached to that creature. So for each mana you have, you can do this over and over again, and most decks can't beat that. At least most fair decks can't beat that. So those are kind of our two different combos that we have in the deck. In addition, we can always just win by Ultimate Jace. Jace also gives us a little bit more consistency with what we're trying to do, and means that we don't have to necessarily on turn 3 or 4 go for the Gifts Ungiven combo. We can play a longer game with Jace. Some other things that this deck does that's really cool. We are playing 3 different sweepers. We're playing 1 Wrath of God, 1 Verdict, and 1 Damnation as targets for our Gifts Ungiven. So we need to Gifts Ungiven for a Wrath. We can choose those. We just got some card draw, some removal, 3 Ancestral Visions to try to get us ahead for turn 5 if we're playing a more controlling game. It doesn't necessarily work super well with the rest of the deck, but I wanted to play all the unbanned cards, so we're going with the Ancestral Visions. We are playing 3 Talismans, 2 Progress, 1 Dominance. This will allow us to get ahead on mana for turn 4. You see how many 4-drops we have? This will allow us to cast those a turn early. Moving on here to the sideboard a little bit. We are playing some cool stuff and some less interesting stuff. We have a couple of ways to interact early. So we've got Timely Reinforcements and Condemn for like humans and Burn and stuff like that. We have a Rule of Law, which is good against Storm and other decks that are trying to cast a lot of spells. A couple of Dispels to protect our combo, and a couple of Counter Squalls, which can also protect the combo and are good against big mana. We've got a Bitterblossom for the fair matchups, another Collective Brutality for the burn matchup. Surgical is really important for when we play against unfair decks. We have a Notion Thief, which is excellent against Jace. It's basically just Jace tech. I wanted to try it out, so we're playing it as a 1-of. Terastodon as a reanimation target for Tron. And then we have 2 Geists, which we can bring in if we think our opponent's going to bring in Rest in Peace. That's kind of what it's there for, because Rest in Peace shuts down actually both combos. And with that, guys, we'll head into round 1, and I'll see you there. All right, guys, we have won the dice roll. We'll go first. All right, this is an interesting hand. We have some interaction, and we have part of our combo, so we will definitely keep this. I don't know what we're playing against, so we're going to start off on the Creeping Tar Pit. And we'll pass the turn. See what our opponent's doing. Okay, it looks like our opponent's playing humans. So we are going to need to leverage this Damnation and this Fatal Push. All right, Noble Hierarch. Okay, we actually drew the Thopter Foundry Sword of the Meek combo, so I think we should just go for that. I don't think our opponent can actually beat that combo in any meaningful way. So, if we get... We also want to kind of preserve our life total a little bit, so if we get Plains here, then we can get a duel with that one. Yeah, that seems fine. we'll just go ahead and get a plains here. And, oh, sorry, I need to tap blue for one of these. Blue, white, there we go. Get the Thopter Foundry down. Then next turn we can play Sword of the Meek and make a 1/1, which will then turn into a 2/3. And we should be able to win from there. So unless our opponent has, I guess if they have a Thalia here, it would slow us down a little bit, but not terribly too much. No, okay, it looks like they just have a Mantis Rider. That's fine. The other thing, the one reason I wanted to get the Thopter Foundry down is because I wasn't too worried about a Fatal, or a Meddling Mage, because we could just Fatal push the Meddling Mage in that case. So this is good for us. We are going to have a bunch of chump blockers, and I don't believe our opponent's going to be able to fight their way through this. It would be nice if we drew some lands. All right, Mantis Rider. All right, actually drawing a land there is very good. And it is a dual land, so we can just go ahead and get an island with this one. And we'll just go ahead and play the Sword of the Meek and pass the turn. And then when our opponent moves to combat, we'll just make a 2/3, and then next turn we'll make 4 1/1s and gain 4 life, and then we'll do that every consecutive turn until we win the game. The reason I waited here is because the only meaningful interaction I think our opponent has game 1 is Reflector Mage, and that doesn't do too much in this case here. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll make our 1/1. How this works is that the 1/1 happens, and then this trigger goes on the stack, and it will come back attached to our Thopter, and we gain a life. And then there's no reason to not block. We are going to be able to make almost infinite Thopters, and we're just trying to preserve our life total for now. Next turn, we'll be able to make 4 of them, chump block 4 things, and gain some more life. We could also cast Damnation next turn if our opponent overextends. No, it doesn't look like they are. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and shock this in because it allows us to make 1 more, and we'll pass the turn. No reason for us to show anything else to our opponent for, honestly, the rest of this game. Okay, they're going to play a Collected Company. That's fine. Trying to think if there's any reason why we should make things in response, and I can't think of one, so we'll just go ahead and let that resolve. Oh, okay, well, that's a reason to use this Fatal Push right now. So I'm going to go ahead and, in response there, Fatal Push this Harsh Mentor, because this Harsh Mentor is going to cost us 2 damage each time we activate the sword. All right, let's see what our opponent's doing here. Looks like they might have another Collected Company. So I will be sure to leave this Plains up. It looks like our opponent's playing Harsh Mentors, which is a cool innovation. I hadn't seen that before. I'm interested to see if that's something that's a little bit more widely going to be implemented soon. All right, we'll go and sack that. Yep, love to do that. We'll go ahead and sack another one here. And then there's no reason to make the 3rd one yet because I still want to hold up the path if possible. We'll eat that Thalia's Lieutenant, or kill the Thalia's Lieutenant, I guess. Okay, it looks like our opponent's going to play another Collected Company. We'll let that resolve before using the Thopter Foundry again. Okay, Thalia's Lieutenant is a good draw for our opponent. It drew a couple, actually. Wow. I guess in response, just so for F6 value, we'll go ahead and sack that. Yep. All right, we drew a Search for Azcanta. I think there's probably just some merit in casting this Damnation here. That will force our opponent to start replaying to the board again, and then we can use our... well, I guess we can wait one more turn. We can wait one more turn, because we'll be able to make enough flyers to block this turn, and our opponent will have to overextend, and then we can hopefully Damnation. Okay, Freebooter's fine. If they take the Damnation, then we will just path it. And if they take the path, then we'll just Damnation. Our opponent is fighting this one out. Unless they have a way to give all their creatures trample or find another Harsh Mentor, I don't see us losing this game. Even if they get the one that makes it so that... Okay, so they took the Damnation. Even if they take or get the one that makes it so that all of their creatures... or it deals damage equal to the number of creatures, it's still not going to be able to win this game. All right, so we'll pay 1. We'll sack this. Yep. Sack that. Yep. Yep. All right, and then we'll go to blocks, and we'll throw 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. It's fine. All right, and we drew a Muddle the Mixture, so we will just pass the turn here again. All right, so this time we are going to leave up the path. So we're just going to make a few 1/1s here. All right, and we'll go to blocks. We'll block here. Our opponent knows what we're doing here, but honestly, it doesn't matter too much. We're going to take a few damage here, which we're fine with. All right, at the end of turn, we will go ahead and path the Kitesail Freebooter, and then Damnation, and then our opponent will have to rebuild everything again. It's unfortunate that we haven't been drawing lands. Academy Ruins is a good draw. All right, so we will just go ahead and Damnation now. I guess there's no reason to not play around Mana Tide. There's no way the deck plays Mana Tide, but it's probably worth just playing around anyway. All right, cool. Our opponent could still have a Collective Brutality or a Collected Company here, which would be, I mean, fine. It's just I still don't think our opponent can get back into this. Yeah, okay, and our opponent concedes. Good. All right, so we were able to win that game by casting just a few spells, which is always really interesting. Okay, so against humans, what do we want? The Timely, honestly, isn't all that bad, so I could see us bringing that in. I could see the Condemn for sure. I could see Collective Brutality being pretty good. So I think maybe we'll bring in those 3. Cards that are very bad in this matchup, Iona, because our opponent, well, yeah, but our opponent has so many different colors that it doesn't really matter there. Ancestral Visions, especially on the draw, is going to be really slow. I'm happy that I didn't draw any last game. I could see Bitterblossom not being the worst because it's flying blockers. Muddle the Mixture is also... Well, Muddle the Mixture, we'll maybe trim one of them, which means that we have one more card that can come in. Yeah, none of these really stand out to me as being, like, good cards here of all these that are left. Maybe if we just play the other Muddle, because Muddle the Mixture lets us find Bitterblossom, Collective Brutality, Search for Ascanta, or the Thopter Foundry combo, which is really cool. It has a lot of utility in this deck. I think I like that. We'll submit like that. The other thing that's really nice is that our diversification of Damnation, Verdict, and Wrath of God means that our opponent can't very easily use a Meddling Mage to get themselves out of things. Alright, what does this hand do? This hand is very good if I can get a swamp. Do I keep this hand hoping that there's a swamp on top of our deck? We have 7 fetches. We have about 13. No, we have more than that. We have 16 black sources in the deck, and we can always Ghost Quarter this island to get one. The Unburial Rites makes this hand a mulligan, I think, just because this already almost is a mulligan. So we'll mulligan that hand. This hand's a lot less exciting, but I think it's a keep. We'll try to put some interaction on top. We don't want another land. There's a chance that the turn 2 Bitterblossom will let us chump block almost into infinity, which is kind of cool. Each turn it's like a gain, 5 or something like that against the human deck usually. Timely Reinforcements is a pretty good draw here. So that means that we now have a curve of Tar Pit, and then land Bitterblossom, and then land Timely. So we'll go ahead and just play the Creeping Tar Pit. And unless our opponent, well, I'm trying to, it would be nice to gain the life off of the Timely Reinforcements. So we can possibly maneuver our life total around a little bit if we need to. Like if our opponent shock fetches again. Okay, so Thalia is not good with what we're trying to do with this hand. I guess we'll just play this this Watery Grave tapped, and now we're trying to survive a few turns to get to this Damnation. We really need to draw a piece of cheap interaction off the top. Condemn would be really good. Collective Brutality would also be pretty good. Wow, another Hierarch. Jeez. All right, so we're taking 6 here. All right, another Tar Pit's not very good. So let's see, we're going to be taking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If the opponent plays 2 more creatures, that'll be 9, 10, 11, 12. So we can't really play out this Bitterblossom, I don't think, because we'll die to it. Well, I guess if we're casting Timely the next turn, that gives us 1 more blocker. It's close. I didn't do the math exactly on whether or not we should be casting this the Bitterblossom. That also, I guess, means that we needed an untapped. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't have played this Bitterblossom. I don't know. Because I think we're going to, 1 or something like that here. Or, sorry, 2. I think we're going to 2 if our opponent plays 2 creatures. Oh, man, Sin Collector is bad. Sin Collector, I think, just means we lose the game. I'm not even sure if we should let him look at our hand. Trying to think if there's a card we can rip off the top. I don't believe there is. Well, we'll let it resolve. I don't know. Maybe our opponent will be... If our opponent takes the Damnation instead of the Timely Reinforcements, we have a shot at drawing untapped land or untapped white source and then Wrath of God or something like that. So we'll see what happens. If our opponent takes the timely reinforcements, we just lose the game. There's nothing in our deck that can get us out of that. Okay, yeah, they just took the timely. All right, so we'll just concede. Next card down would be a tar pit. Okay. All right, do we want to make any changes to our deck? Probably not. I mean, none of these cards are any good, so we'll just submit like that. Search for Escanta is also bad. There's quite a few cards that we would like to have gotten out of this deck. Okay, this hand's actually very reasonable. We have the ability to Bitterblossom and Fatal Push, and we have a Wrath. Yeah, this is good. All right, so we'll keep. I don't think that Fatal Pushing our opponent's first play is totally necessary, so I'm just going to play the Creeping Tar Pit tapped. All right, our opponent plays Champion of the Parish, which is fine. I think that our best play, because we're going to need to get 2 white sources for this Wrath of God and or this Gifts Ungiven. We're just trying to buy ourselves some time, and I think the best way to buy ourselves some time here is to get down this Bitterblossom. This Bitterblossom is basically just a an answer to a Champion of the Parish, is what it is. It's you know, pay a life each turn, fog your Champion of the Parish. And that's kind of how we're going to play it here. Okay, opponent plays a Meddling Mage. There's a really good chance that they won't be able to name Wrath of God here. If they name Wrath of God, I'll be amazed. Our plan is to turn 4 Wrath of God, turn 5 Gifts Ungiven. Okay, they named Timely Reinforcements. We just have the 1 in the deck. That's fine. All right, we'll always just yield to this Bitterblossom. Okay, we drew a Thopter Foundry, which is kind of cool. That means that I'm going to play this Polluted Delta out and play the Thopter Foundry out too. In a pinch, you can always sacrifice the Thopter Foundry to itself because it is actually an artifact to get a 1/1 blocker. So I want to get that on the table just so that we theoretically can do it in the future. Okay, this is fine. Our opponent's going to play a Mantis Rider here. We are just going to go ahead and get a Hallowed Fountain tapped, and we are going to board wipe this. We are taking quite a bit of damage here, which is a little unfortunate. We're going to block that one because it saves us 3 damage. So we'll drop to 9 here, and then we're going to... yeah, this isn't great. All right, we'll play the Swamp, actually, because that will save us just a little bit of life. And we'll go ahead and Wrath of God. So now next turn we can Fatal Push plus Gifts Ungiven and get the Gristlebrand. Or the actually getting the Thopter Sword seems really good. Oh boy, this isn't good. All right, so we're dropping to 5/4 off the Bitterblossom. So that means, yeah, we're going to have to Gifts Ungiven for the Thopter Sword in order to gain life. We can always bring back the Thopter Sword with the Bitterblossom, which is really cool. The Bitterblossom token will trigger it. Okay, so we're taking 4 here. That's not good. All right. All right, we're going to 3. Going to 3 here. Good boy. So I think in this case, what we have to do actually is we have to leave the ability to sack the Thopter Foundry to itself. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we do. So we will pass the turn here. We can Fatal Push something and we can Gifts Ungiven for that. So if our opponent plays a Haster or a like Humans Matters card, like the Kessig Malcontents, it's going to be real bad for us. All right, this is good so far. This is very good for us so far. All right, we are just going to go ahead and chump that. We'll see what our opponent plays post-combat. Okay, post-combat they just do nothing, which is very good. We're going to go ahead and Gifts Ungiven, target our opponent. If they collected company in response, that's not great for us, but it's fine. All right, so what we should do, I believe, in this case, is that we should get well, we're definitely going to get the Thopter sword. So where's that? We're going to get Sword of the Meek. So that's one card. We are going to get Timely Reinforcements because our opponent probably won't let us cast that. It doesn't matter if this Sword of the Meek makes it to our hand or into our graveyard, which is really cool. We will get a Collective Brutality. Probably. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Collective Brutality seems fine. And a Path to Exile. Okay, so we'll do that. And we'll see where our opponent wants to put these things. If they're smart, they're going to put the Sword of the Meek in our hand. All right, they move the Timely Reinforcements immediately to the graveyard, which is fine. I wonder if they're figuring out whether or not they can beat the... Nope, okay, they are not. This is a bug, actually. I think Magic Online bugs here so that we're actually going to get 3 cards, unless they fixed it. So this is... I'm not really sure what the end result is, but this is makes for very bad content. So I apologize, guys, if that's what's going to happen. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to just tell our opponent. All right, so our opponent is going to, in response here, Collected Company. Okay, Is It Staticaster is a very good draw for our opponent. I think that means that... well, let's see if our opponent shoots down the fairy in response here. Because if not, it's going to get attached. Okay, so our opponent is going to... What are they targeting? They're targeting Is It Staticaster. Okay. All right, and we drew a Collective Brutality for the turn. Okay, so that's nice. So the first thing I think I want to do is get ourselves out of range of our opponent like being able to attack through it. So we're going to path the Staticaster. And then we're going to cast Timely, get a bunch of 1/1s, and pass the turn. And it looks like we're in a very good spot here. We can go up to 9. Okay, we'll let that resolve. We hold Fatal Push up still. Okay, and a Harsh Mentor is one of the hits. So we'll push that. Oh, okay. So with the booter on the stack, we'll go ahead and push the Harsh Mentor. And we'll be able to kill the freebooter using a Collective Brutality. All right, so I think in general we're in pretty good shape here. Okay, Thalia's Lieutenant is a good draw for our opponent there. But they still have to be able to beat our board here, and that's going to be really hard. So just go ahead and run the Rogue out in front of it. Is there any reason to cast this Collective Brutality? I mean, I guess it would let us gain some more life. So yeah, I mean, I guess there's not really any reason to not do it. All right, so we'll do 2 modes. We'll just do that and gain a couple of life. We'll choose this Thalia's Lieutenant because it can get out of hand. And we'll discard this Serum Visions because we don't care too much about it. All right, and we'll just go ahead and pass the turn here. We can't attack through what our opponent has. The end of the turn, we'll make 3 more 1/1s. Okay, our opponent has a Sin Collector. That's fine. They get to take our Collective Brutality. And a Noble Hierarch. It's pretty good for our opponent, actually. All right, and we will go ahead and sack that. Sack that. All right, and in case our opponent has another, is it Staticaster? I'm going to block with a Thopter as opposed to a Fairy here, just because it would mitigate the effectiveness of that draw. All right, so we drew a land. There isn't really any reason why we can't go ahead and just shock it in. It'll drop us to 9, but we can make a bunch of 1/1s here, and we don't have to cast another spell for the rest of the game, probably. At some point, we'll have enough Thopters and enough life where we can just attack. Our opponent's drawing lands. All right, and they concede. Excellent. All right, so we got there against humans. Good start for us. Moving on to round 2 here. You saw the power of the Thopter Sword combo. It was incredibly strong in that game. All right, we've lost the die roll here for match 3. All right, what does this hand do? This hand, turn 1, Serum Visions, turn 2 as Kanta. Yeah, I think this is a keep. Yeah, this seems pretty good. All right, looks like our opponent's on some sort of Death Shadow deck. The Death Shadow deck is really bad against the Thopter Foundry deck, or the Thopter Foundry combo, which is kind of cool. All right, so they took a look at their our library, and are now letting us draw that card. All right, Ancestral Vision's a great draw. So we will go ahead and get blue-black here, I believe. And we will just go ahead and get that Ancestral Vision going. That means next turn that we can get the Talisman down and Serum Visions for a third land. All right, this time our opponent is also looking at the top card of our library. That's very interesting. Usually with the baubles like that and an uncracked fetch, you want to look at your own top of the library to figure out if you want that card or not. But it looks like our opponent's very much valuing knowing information about us, which means they might be double thought seizing us here. Is that what's happening? That would lead me to believe they either have a perfect hand or are going to be double thought seizing us. Okay. And we have a very thought seize proof hand. This hand's actually just great against the card thought seize. They would have to either use 2 cards to get rid of 2 search for Ascantas or leave us with a search for Ascanta that we can cast next turn. They're taking a muddle the mixture. Okay, that's fine. I guess they don't want to lose to the Thopter Foundry combo, like way off in the distance. I don't know if they know exactly what's going on. Oh, okay, so they're going to get a Death Shadow. Okay, that's interesting. Probably a Death Shadow, right? Yeah, Death Shadow. Okay. Cool. All right, so because we drew a Gifts Ungiven, I think it's very important that we try to get the Serum Visions down, the Serum Visions going, because we really want to draw a land next turn. And this will put us in position to do that. Okay, and they take a Gifts. Okay, that's interesting. Cool. All right, so we have a 2/2 Death Shadow that we're staring down now. All right, we're going to go ahead and play this Talisman first, because then we can use this mana here to play down this Search, and then we can... Oh, okay, well, I should have played a land, which was a big mistake on my part. But I guess this way our opponent doesn't know that we have this land. Yeah, I should have definitely played that land. I'm trying to think of an upside to this, but it was just a punt. Sometimes it's hard to do these videos while talking. But I mean, I guess on the other hand, we do have 4 mana still, which is kind of cool. All right. Yes, we'd love to put Iona in the graveyard. All right, and we drew a Creeping Tar Pit, which isn't very good. I guess we'll go ahead and play it and pass the turn here. We're going to take a bunch of damage here. All right. We would like to put the Ancestral Vision on the stack first because this will let us look at the top card of our library if we don't want it. Put Gifts in the graveyard. Yeah, it's too late for Gifts, so we'll put that in the graveyard. Like target ourselves with the Ancestral Vision. Okay. All right, we drew a Jace and on Burial Rites. So I think we're still just dead here. We play that land out, which didn't matter in the end. If we would have had 1 more mana with his Search for Ascanta, if we would have put him in the other way and just binned anything, we might have been okay. I guess our out here is that we have to draw a Verdict off of the Serum Visions. So I guess we'll go ahead and try that. Nope. All right, so we didn't get there with that. We can Unburial Rites the Iona, but that still won't give us enough to hold on. So we're just going to concede here. We're just dead. Man, that's unfortunate. We were close. Okay. Took a little bit too long for us to stabilize in that game. All right, so cards that we don't really want, or sorry, cards that we are bringing in. Condemn. Condemn is really good against them. The Iona is not super good against our opponent because they are, well, I guess they can't really beat it on black. It's just, it's not, we really don't want to be on the Gifts Ungiven Unburial Rites package in this matchup. So I guess maybe we'll just cut the Iona. I think the Gristlebrand does a little bit more because it's, well, I guess they're both 7. Yeah, I guess we'll play the Iona over the Gristlebrand. Bitterblossom is really good in this matchup. They're going to have a hard time attacking through it. Fatal Push, Path to Exile is good. Condemn's really good. This is definitely a Condemn matchup. Dispels can come in. They're pretty good. Our opponent will have Counter Magic. We'll be able to fight it, their Counter Magic with our Counter Magic. Brutality is really not very good in this matchup. Yeah. So I guess we'll just trim a Brutality. Trim an Ancestral Visions because, like you saw there, we died with it on the stack. We definitely don't want 2. Even 1's not great. Probably kind of muddle the mixture also. That seems pretty good. Alright, we'd love to play first. This hand's got double Serum Visions, triple Serum Visions, so we'll keep it. It's got turn 1 Serum Visions into turn 2 Talisman plus Serum Visions, which is really cool. We'll use the mismatched one for now. All right, we drew another land, which is good. We definitely don't want either of these. They're going to be way too slow. We need interaction now. I think maybe if our opponent... Okay, our opponent's going to probably take our Bitterblossom here. I was going to say, I think if our opponent's going to draw a card, then we should just play our Bitterblossom. The one thing that really hurts us in this matchup is that we don't have any Snapcaster Mages. I wanted to include Bitterblossom and stuff like that into our deck instead of Snapcaster Mage, which hurts a lot, specifically in this matchup. All right, I think we want to diversify our colors as much as possible. Our life total is relevant in this matchup, but it's not like Burn or something like that where every point matters because we're going to lose in chunks in this with this deck. All right, Flooded Strand at the bottom. I think we're still in the market for a Bitterblossom. Probably take the Thopter Foundry here. Maybe the Fatal Push if they don't think they can beat that. No, okay, they took the Thopter Foundry. All right. Looks like our opponent's bricking on lands. Nope, maybe not. Might play a... Nope. I was going to say might play Death Shadow here, but nope. I guess they do know we have a Fatal Push, so they didn't want to play that into. Okay, so we'll play the Serum Vision first. Collective Brutality is interesting. I think we definitely want both of these cards. We'll top and top. Play the Ruins here, and yeah, maybe this was a little bit of a punt because we can't play Brutality and hold up Fatal Push. Or sorry, Bitterblossom and hold up Fatal Push. I don't think it's super important here because mana is not our bottleneck, it's cards. Okay, it's fine. Opponent Thought Seizes us. They'll probably take the Fatal Push here. Yeah, okay. All right, and a Goyf. All right, so we will go ahead and play the Search for Azcanta for sure. And then I think we want to take a look at our opponent's hand. Okay, so they just have another Tarmogoyf and Grimflayer. Okay, so that's... I wanted to just make sure that we weren't going to get blown out by something like a Double Strike, a Temur Battle Rage or something like that, because any land off the top would allow them to find red mana if they are playing red in their deck. And so far they might not be. This just kind of looks like it's a Sultai deck list. It probably is playing Jace, which is kind of cool. All right, so math-wise, if we take 7 here, then we have to chump next turn. Yeah, I think we just have to take the or block this. So we'll go ahead and make a 1/1. Yeah, we did know about that Fatal Push, didn't we? Okay. Let's not put that in the graveyard. Yes on the transform. Okay, cool. All right, so this is good. Then we will go ahead and main phase Fatal Push so we can let our opponent set up their draw. We know that our opponent has an unknown card in hand. And then this will allow us to use the Azcanta at the end of the turn and hopefully find... Okay, so our opponent has a Death Shadow, so we definitely need to find a... board wipe or something similar. We do have double white. We can get white off of the Talisman, which is kind of cool. Opponent stacking the top of their deck. Looks like there were 2 lands. And then they kept the other 2. All right, so we will activate the Azcanta. Find... It's too late for the Gifts Ungiven, I believe. Yeah, too late for the Gifts Ungiven, so we'll find a path. Oh, we drew a Damnation. That's really good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll cast the Damnation. There's no way for us to leave up white mana. Oh, I guess there is. We can leave up white mana with that. Okay, cool. So we'll go ahead and cast the Damnation. That's good. And we'll pass the turn. All right, Liliana the Veil's pretty good. It's not super good actually against Bitterblossom, but that's okay. Oh man, and we drew a Jace. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and play the Jace. Yeah, we'll go ahead and play Jace. We will draw 3 cards. We'll put our best card on the top of our deck. So we'll go ahead and we'll play, we'll put Talisman of Progress back, then Wrath of God, and then this. And then we can decide whether or not we want to shuffle. Which we can absolutely do. Man, Jace is just so busted. This is the first time I've gotten to play him in Modern, actually. I didn't test this deck at all. So this is the first time I'm actually getting to play with the card, and geez, that felt so good. I mean, I've played with him before, obviously, in other formats. We're going to fetch away here because we don't want to draw that card on top. We'd like to get more white lands, so we'll do that. All right, we drew a Gifts Ungiven, which is pretty good. We'll go ahead and brainstorm here. Another search isn't great. So we'll just go ahead and put these 2 back, and then we'll use gifts as a shuffle effect. And I think we'll just go ahead and we'll cast the gifts now, because one of the cards that we definitely want to try to get with this gifts is a Creeping Tar Pit. So we'll go ahead and we'll get, let's see, where's Creeping Tar Pit? Creeping Tar Pit is a way to finish off our opponent, which is why I want to do that, and then we can play it if that's the case. So we're just going to get a bunch of cards that our opponent can't really beat. We'll get that, and we'll get a... Yeah, I don't know. The rest of the cards, I guess, don't really matter terribly too much. We'll get a Path to Exile. And Unburial Rites, and Iona, I guess. So that way our opponent either has to put the Unburial Rites and Iona in our hand, or if they plus the Liliana, we'll be able to bin the Iona, and then, yeah. Just want to make it almost impossible for our opponent to, yeah, okay. All right, that's fine. So we can bin the Iona if our opponent pluses, and then we can Unburial Rites it, which is kind of cool. Okay, that's fine. Okay, we'll discard the Iona. All right, there's no reason to not start off once again by brainstorming, I guess. We'll put back Bitterblossom, Hallowed Fountain, I guess. We'll play the play that. We'll Unburial Rites the Iona, black, white. This, that I guess doesn't really matter. We'll name black. Attack our opponent for 1, and our opponent's Liliana for 1. And that'll probably be the game here. Awesome. All right, we're on game 3. All right, guys, we are back here for the 3rd game in the match. This hand's totally fine. It's got lands and it's got spells. You generally don't want to mulligan against a deck that has Thought Seizes unless your hand's unkeepable. This hand's certainly not unkeepable. It's got all of our colors, and it is a very painless mana base. It also allows a turn 3 Jace, which is just busted. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and start with that Creeping Tar Pit first. Okay, this is fine. Opponent did have double Street Wraith, though, which is very unfortunate for us. Path to Exile is wonderful. So we can Talisman, and we can also just get the Death Shadow off the table here without fear of a Stubborn Denial, which is really cool. So we'll go ahead. We'll just do it during our opponent's upkeep, I guess. Trying to think if there's any reason to play any of these specific lands here. I don't think so. We want to hold this Polluted Delta, I guess, for holding the Polluted Delta for Shuffle effect on the Jace. If our opponent wants to counter this, that's fine. That means they won't be able to counter this Jace next turn. Okay, they're going to delay it. Okay, that's cool. I haven't seen that tech before. All right, so the path is on Suspend. Drew a Dispel. We're just going to go ahead and use the Jace as an unsummon. We're not doing anything else with our mana this turn, so might as well just unsummon that. Our opponent's a little bit choked on mana. Okay. Opponent can take a Dispel from us. That's fine. Alright, our opponent plays Death Shadow. Alright, and we draw an island. We'll go ahead and draw 3 cards. Okay, and we will put back island and swamp, and we will fetch. We'll get an island, and we'll go ahead and we'll start pressuring our opponent. So we'll go ahead and get the Creeping Tar Pit up. Get in there. Our opponent will have to have a counterspell for a Condemn here. If they have a counterspell for it, that's fine. Okay. The path will come off Suspend here. Go after that Death Shadow. Oh, and we draw Gifts Ungiven. That's cool. All right, so I think at this point then we would want to stop with the attacking with the Tar Pit. Yeah, maybe I played that a little bit too aggressively. Maybe we should have held on with that Tar Pit. Our opponent was at a higher life total than not that I thought, but I didn't think that they had another counter spell there, because they would have countered some of our other plays were a little bit more impact than getting rid of their Death Shadow. And I wanted to, yeah, maybe we probably should have just leveraged, because we could have blocked with the Creeping Tar Pit, but there's a chance that they had removal also, so I don't know. I don't really know what was correct there. Okay, Liliana the Veil's fine. We'll just go ahead and discard a Serum Visions. And at the end of the turn here, we'll go ahead and Gifts, targeting our opponent. We're going to get a path, a push, path, let's see, a Jace. Did I miss push? Yeah, there's push. And a Bitterblossom. All of these are really good. Opponent has 0 cards in hand. Opponent doesn't want us to have a path. They gave us Jace plus Bitterblossom. That's real interesting. Okay. Wow, this is really interesting, actually. I don't know what the correct play is here. We can, I guess the safe play is to just Jace bounce the Death Shadow this turn and then try to gain some value off of it next turn. So I guess we'll go ahead and do that. Bounce the Death Shadow. This gives us the most options for next turn, which I guess is kind of cool. I think that's what we wanted to try to do if possible. Man, our opponent's going to 5, which means they're dead in 2 hits with a Creeping Tar Pit. All right, they're getting another land. I see how it is. Okay. Or they're getting another Death Shadow. And then probably making us discard. So we'll discard the Muddle. Well, I guess we'll discard... Huh. Discard the Gifts or discard the Muddle? I don't really know. We got a Grim Flare. That's really interesting. Okay. Yeah, we'll get rid of the muddle. Okay. Drove Flooded Strand. Wow. Okay, so if we brainstorm and we whiff, we're going to lose the game. Well, not technically, because we can still chump block the Death Shadow. Yeah, all right, we'll do that. It's kind of a whiff. All right, we'll get rid of Gifts and a Flooded Strand. And then we'll go ahead and fetch those away. Just go ahead and get an island here. Cast that. Okay, and we drew a Thopter Foundry, which is a really good draw. All right, so we're going to bottom both of these. Yeah, this is pretty good. If our opponent has a removal spell, it's not good for us. We just lose, but I think this is going to give us the best shot at winning the game. Okay. So now we're on, during our opponent's, after they attack, we will use our Thopter Foundry to gain a life. Okay, so their opponent, we're going to discard that and the Liliana. Our opponent's attacking. We'll see who they attack. This is actually really interesting. So they're attacking us and us. We will sack this, gain a life, block the Death Shadow. Our opponent will get to set up the top of their library. All right, we drew a Polluted Delta, which is not a great draw. Is there any benefit to bouncing one of our opponent's creatures? Or should we just brainstorm? Because we're already using a lot of our mana this turn. We're already... Yeah, I think I like returning the Death Shadow to our opponent's hand, playing the Polluted Delta. I guess we should get this Swamp. We have a Swamp left in our deck. Activate the Tar Pit. Attack Liliana, because we don't want to just lose. Okay, cool. Alright, our opponent plays that Death Shadow again. Opponent plays another Death Shadow. Okay, this is good. I think we just win the game here. Yes, okay, cool. Alright, so we will do that. Alright, our opponent attacks. We will go ahead and sacrifice the Thopter Sword. Bring it back. Yes. Sack it again. Yes. And again. Alright, opponent has no cards in hand. And we'll just take that hit. Because it has trample, doesn't really matter. Alright, they killed the Jace, that's fine. And then we just activate the Creeping Tar Pit and win the game. All right, awesome. This is a good hand. It's very reactive, which is good. See what our opponent's doing. It looks like they're playing some sort of Jund deck. We're going to go ahead and start with a... So we definitely are going to want to play this Bitterblossom next turn. I don't want to necessarily take a bunch of damage here, so I guess we'll start with this Polluted Delta and maybe Fatal Push. We'll Fatal Push something like a Bob for sure. Okay, we're playing against a Jund deck here. Yeah, okay, so we'll definitely Fatal Push this Dark Confidant. So we'll go ahead and we'll get a Godless Shrine. And we'll Fatal Push it. Okay. So we got that off the table. We drew an island, which is good. We'll just play that island, actually, and we'll get this, assuming I tap correctly, we'll get a Bitterblossom online. So the Bitterblossom means that our opponent can't really play a Liliana. Bitterblossom has been historically amazing against Liliana. They need to, like, Abrupt Decay or Maelstrom Pulse this. All right, they have another Dark Confidant, which isn't very good for us. We'll always yield to that. Creeping Tar Pit. So are we going to want to transmute this Muddle the Mixture? I don't know. I don't know if I have a good answer to that. I think we're just going to play the Tar Pit here and pass. We're actually hoping next turn our opponent plays like a Bloodbraid Elf or something like that. The other thing is that because our opponent's been fetching basics, there's a chance they have Blood Moon, and if they have Blood Moon, we're not doing very good. All right, they drew a Forest. Yeah, so if they have Blood Moon here, this is really bad for us. All right, so they have Bloodbraid Elf. We're hoping that they hit another creature here, or Dreadbore. Okay, that's fine. So we will get some value off of this Wrath of God here next turn. We're drawing all lands, which is not good. We can't let our opponent draw too many cards off of this Dark Confidant, which is why we have to go for the Wrath of God here. All right, our opponent takes our Muddle the Mixture, so we're more or less empty-handed now. Need to draw something off the top. They've got a Raging Ravine. All right, we drew a Sword of the Meek, which is not honestly the worst. I think we're going to play a tapped Hallowed Fountain, and then we're going to go ahead and play the Sword of the Meek, and then equip the Fairy Rogue with the Sword of the Meek. Our opponent's tapping Jund mana for something. Might be a Kolaghan's Command. What did they do? Oh, they returned Bloodbraid Elf, I see, and killed the thing. Okay, so that's fine. Opponent hits another Bob, which isn't very good for us at all. They're going to bolt us. Wow, bolt us to 5, okay. Man, they're very much in on this Bitterblossom killing us here. That's kind of cool. They might be right, actually. Yeah, they're right. Okay, we'll concede. All right, so we'll move on to the next game here. Our opponent is going to be pretty aggressive. The Collective Brutality is good at killing Bob, so I think I want to bring that in. The Thopter Foundry combo is not great against our opponent because they have multiple different ways to deal with it. I think our best way of winning is trying to get the Unburial Rites going. Let's see what else. Bitterblossom historically has been really good in this matchup. It didn't look very good there, but I think we got to bring another one in. Yeah, maybe we should trim a little bit on this combo. We'll trim the Gristle brand because our opponent has Terminates and stuff like that. One more cut. Yeah, maybe we just don't want the last Bitterblossom. Let's just go with 2 Bitterblossoms. The Collective Brutality has a little bit more utility, I think, in most games than the second Collective Brutality. Wow. All right, well, this hand has turn 1 Ancestral Vision, turn 2 Bitterblossom, and I think we just are kind of obligated to keep that. I know the Iona's not very good, but we can maybe discard it to a Liliana or something like that. We're going to go ahead and get a basic here. We don't want to get, if our opponent's playing Blood Moon or something like that out of their board, we don't want to get got by that. Get an Ancestral Vision rolling. Do turn 1 this, turn 2 Bitterblossom, turn 3 Serum Visions. Okay, well, our opponent will take our Bitterblossom now. We'll always yield to this Ancestral Vision. Oh, wow. Okay, we drew a Thopter Foundry, which is really good, and I think we just want to get that online. We probably should have just played the Swamp there, but I guess we were going to need white mana at some point, too, so we'll just do that. There's a chance we were dealing ourselves a little bit too much damage here. All right, our opponent gets a Dark Confidant up, which is not great for us. Another Ancestral Vision is not great for us either. Another Serum Visions. Okay, and double Gifts. Wow. All right, so we will bottom a Gifts, top a Gifts, and then play a Serum Vision. Oh, man. Muddle's also good. Muddle would give us the combo, but I don't know how all in we need to be on the combo. This is really interesting. We definitely want the land next turn, I guess. So we'll do that, and we'll just play. Yeah, we'll just do that. That's fine. All right, our opponent reveals a forest. Wow. All right, we have a bunch of really interesting decisions to make here. If this is a Liliana, I'm going to be very excited, actually, I think. Fulminator Mage. Oof. Wow. All right. Wow. All right. Well, they got that. We know that the top card is a land. I think we are actually just obligated to block this Dark Confidant. Where there's no way we're going to be able to win this game if we let our opponent continue to gain value off of it. So we need to go ahead and trade that with the Dark Confidant. Next turn, our Ancestral Visions will come off of Suspend. Go ahead and play in Academy Ruins, get another Ancestral Vision suspended. Because now our opponent actually has to play to the board. Probably looks like they have another Fulminator Mage here. No, they have a Liliana. Okay. Well, this Liliana is actually not as bad as the Fulminator Mage was. So we can get rid of this Iona because we're never casting this Iona in the first place. We actually wanted to bin it. And now we're going to get to draw a bunch of cards. All right, I would like to draw cards. Okay, so this is pretty good. we are going to go ahead and play the Flooded Strand, I guess, here, and pass the turn. We already have the Academy Ruins out, so we can... yeah, this is fine. We'll both discard a card. I'm going to get rid of the Hallowed Fountain because I can definitely leverage this Ghost Quarter a little bit later. Looks like our opponent might just be attacking with the Raging Ravine here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get a Plains. And we'll just take this opportunity here to do this. Okay, so we want... I guess we should have gotten a second blue source there. I don't know. I've been playing around Fulminator Mages now, and now it's making it a little bit hard for us to cast some of our spells. Like, it would have been very nice there if we could have gotten a Jace, but we can't get a Jace with the way that our lands are set up here. So I think we need to do Thopter Foundry. I guess, yeah, Thopter Foundry plus Sword of the Meek, plus Bitterblossom, and another Gifts Ungiven. Let's do that. And we can F6. If our opponent puts the second Thopter Foundry in the graveyard, we can get it back with this Academy Ruins. All right, so they really think that they can beat it. That's really interesting. They're like fairly convinced that they can beat the Thopter Foundry combo, which is really hard to beat. All right. We'll play the Thopter Foundry, play the Sword of the Meek, and we'll pass the turn. Holding up Ghost Quarter. Sure, that's fine. Okay, our opponent is destroying our Thopter Foundry, so we're just going to go ahead and sack this to make a 1/1 for now, which will become a 2/3. That's fine. They can destroy the Thopter with an Ancient Grudge. Make us discard that Swamp, which is fine. All right, so during our upkeep, we need to figure out whether or not we want to get back this Thopter Foundry. This Liliana is about to ultimate, so they're going to be able to split our permanents. I think that overall this is fine. Oh, we won't be able to cast it. Oof, that's interesting. Yeah, because I got that Plains is kind of screwing us up real bad here. I mean, we can cast it, but we have to Ghost Quarter ourselves in order to do it. Yeah, maybe we should just take a draw step here. Yeah, let's just take a draw step, I guess. All right, we drew an island, which isn't a very good draw step. See if our opponent goes for the Ancient Grudge here. The Thopter itself is a artifact, which is why the Ancient Grudge is actually a pretty effective play here. Yep, they're just grudging it. Okay, that's fine. So if our opponent wants to ultimate the Liliana here, they can. Huh. Okay. So with the Liliana ability on the stack, we can put the Foundry on top of our library if we want to. Which I think we'll go ahead and do. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then the other thing we can do is we can Ghost Quarter our opponent's Raging Ravine here. I guess we'll do that. We're removing decisions from our opponent by doing both of these things now. But it seems like it might be effective enough. Like we basically don't, we're giving our opponent less opportunity to mess up. But if our opponent leverages it really well, we're actually going to benefit from this. So we'll see how our opponent wants to split this up. We definitely don't care about the Sword of the Meek. The Sword of the Meek is whatever. Because we have infinite ways to get a 1/1 onto the battlefield. What are they doing? This is a really good split by our opponent, actually. Wow. All right, so we know that the card on top of our library is bad for both of these piles. Maybe we shouldn't have put the card on top of our library. That's interesting, actually. I guess we'll just go ahead and sacrifice pile 2. See what our opponent has. A Goyf. Wow, an 8/9 Tarmogoyf. All right. Well, at least we get to draw some cards here. All right, we drew a Creeping Tar Pit. Okay. Well, there's a couple of positives here, which is that if we can survive one more turn, we're in good shape. So, I guess we're actually in very good shape here. So we got a chump blocker for the Tarmogoyf. Wow, another Creeping Tar Pit. That's real funny, actually. All right, so we got blue, black. We got Thopter Foundry here. So our opponent needs to draw a removal spell off the top to beat us. And if they don't do that, we're going to win the game, I think, is how this is going to work. All right. See if they drew a removal spell. They shouldn't have too many of them in their deck still. All right, I guess with that on the stack, we'll go ahead for the Sword of the Meek play. Yep, we'd like to do that. That's fine. And we'll go ahead and block the Goyf. Cool, so that'll drop us to 3, but then next turn we'll be able to, we'll be able to make quite a few tokens here. All right, so we're once again going to play the Creeping Tar Pit tapped, and we need to play around both Maelstrom Pulse and Surgical Extraction to some extent. I think it's more likely that they have Maelstrom Pulse than Surgical Extraction. So I'm going to, well, maybe we should make 1 now. Yeah, we'll make 1 now, which means that, actually, I guess we should make 2 now. That's how we play around both, is we make 2 now. All right, it took me a second to find that line, but we found it. So this means that both Maelstrom Pulse and Surgical Extraction don't kill us. Wow. We seemed so behind that game. They Fulminator maged us, and they Liliana ultimated us, and it looks like we might somehow pull ahead. Man, Bloodbraid Elf. That's a pretty good draw. All right, so we'll let that resolve. Oh, man, Colligan's Command. That's really rough. I wonder how they're going to split this. Man, destroying this Thopter Foundry is really not good for us. All right, we're gonna sack that. They're returning a Dark Confidant. Okay. And we'll just sack it also. All right. All right, so our opponent's thinking about their attacks here. All right, everyone, and we're back. Our opponent had some sort of connection issue, so we lost about 6 or 7 minutes worth of game time there. But our opponent just went to the end step there and didn't attack with anything, which is kind of interesting. I'm not really sure why they would do that, but it seems fine from my perspective. All right, so here we have a very interesting decision. Which is basically, to what extent can we race our opponent? We can play this Jace, and then we can bounce a Tarmogoyf. I mean, we definitely play the Jace, so we'll play that first. I think maybe we just want to go ahead and brainstorm here. Search for Escanta is kind of cool. All right, so we'll put these two back. Our Plains is already in the graveyard. We definitely did want to shuffle. I guess we'll go ahead and get a Godless Shrine here because we need white mana. And play the Search for Escanta. And then we will chip in at our opponent for 1 damage. Yeah, we'll do that. All right, we need to find, if we can find Unburial Rites during our turn, it'll be very nice. We get 4 looks at Unburial Rites. All right, our opponent gets the Raging Ravine all up. What did our opponent reveal there? Our opponent revealed Blackcleave Cliffs, okay. And they played the Blackcleave Cliffs. See how our opponent wants to attack here? All right, they're going to attack with everything except for the Dark Confidant. All right, who are they attacking? They're attacking Jace with everything. All right, so we can trade with the Bloodbraid there and block these two. All right, beginning of our upkeep, we definitely want to put the Talisman in our graveyard. We would love to flip that. For the turn, we draw a Watery Grave. I think the first thing we want to do actually is Serum Visions. Yeah, that's good. All right, cool. So we'll put Fatal Push on top. Then we will draw 3. Oh, and we drew another Jace. Wow. All right, we'll put Watery Grave on top and Jace above that. Then we will go ahead and Collective Brutality this Dark Confidant. And then we will Fatal Push the Tarmogoyf and pass the turn. Actually, I guess there's probably a little bit of merit here to equipping the Thopters with the with that. So this way, if our opponent somehow rips a Bloodbraid Elf, we can at least block the Bloodbraid Elf profitably. Trade with it. Okay, or Liliana the Lost Hope, which is also a good reason for us to have gotten the... Alright, so we'll see if our opponent gets back Bloodbraid here, which is probably the correct thing to do. They returned Bloodbraid Elf, okay. Alright, we'll see what that cascades into. Cascades into a Goyf. Okay. Alright, our opponents will attack us here. Attacking the Jace. We're going to go ahead and block with that Thopter. And at the end of the turn, we will go ahead and path the Goyf. Alright, we drew our other Jace, which we did know about. We're going to go ahead and draw 3 with this Jace here. We'll put back Jace and a land. And then we will activate the Tar Pit. And we will attack the Liliana with it. And we'll leave up the ability to both path and push something. Okay. So they do that. We're going to go ahead and push this one. See what our opponent has as a follow-up here. Colligan's Command to return a Bloodbraid Elf and make us discard. Okay, that's pretty good. So we'll discard that and pass the turn. I think during our upkeep, we are going to use the Search for Azcanta. Because we didn't want to draw the Jace. Another search isn't very good. Huh. Wow. Alright, a lot of this is real bad here. I guess we'll go ahead and take the Jace. Maybe we should have taken the Collective Brutality. Huh, I don't know. Alright, we drew a Gifts Ungiven. We'll brainstorm with this Jace here. Huh. Alright, we'll put back... these two. And then I guess just hope that our opponent doesn't hit a bolt or something with the yeah, hope our opponent doesn't hit a bolt or something with the Bloodbraid Elf Cascade. Oh, Thoughtseize, huh. Alright, let's see what kind of lands we have left in the deck. That was wrong, we just lost the game because of that. Yeah, that was not a great play by me. Well, we're going to have to chump the Bloodbraid Elf with a Creeping Tar Pit. Or I guess we will trade with the Bloodbraid Elf. See if our opponent has a Bolt. They drew another Bloodbraid Elf. Okay, well, we lost. Opponent has an Inquisition. Yeah. Man. I guess maybe using that as Azcanta there during the upkeep wasn't the greatest thing in order to shuffle, but yeah. Well, that's too bad.